It was the signature game of this young college football season.
And Notre Dame came close to stunning Sanford Stadium by inking a win. Close does not count in the record book. The Irish are 2-1.
We have to play better football from here on out.
There is no room left for another setback.
You gotta put your heads down, get to work.
And there is plenty of work still to do.
But we're not really dwelling in the past.
The Irish season is only through its first quarter.
I think our team will define who they are.
So much of their story has yet to be written.
I think as a team, we're so close.
Today we'll see just how close with another top 20 test.
I like a challenge.
The Virginia Cavaliers come a-calling for their first ever visit. And the stakes couldn't get much higher in September.
Well, our goal is to win a national championship, and that starts with beating Virginia this week.
Will that Irish goal still be in sight by the end of the day? We're about to find out.
Live from Notre Dame Stadium, this is 16 News Now's Countdown to Kickoff.
It's the first of 3 straight football weekends in the shadow of the Golden Dome, and the Irish faithful have come from all over back here to the Bend with high hopes and to cheer for old Notre Dame.
And now you are looking live at that parking lot party from high above. We bring you inside the house that Rockney built. Did you know 101 years to the day old Canute made his Notre Dame coaching debut? He pasted Case-Tech 26-6. And today, his number 10 Fighting Irish welcome number 18 Virginia for their maiden stopover.
Good afternoon and welcome to 16 News Now's Countdown to Kickoff. I'm Mark Skoll Jr.
And I'm WHME Sports Director Chuck Freeby. The Irish played in one of the games that could define this college football season last week, but they didn't win. And that now leaves the big question for anyone who pulls for Notre Dame. Are the Irish still in the college football playoff hunt?
I don't know how this is even a discussion. I think they are absolutely still in the hunt. Losing to a team where all the national ESPN analysts were saying there's no scripts that Notre Dame could even compete with Georgia. They had a chance to win that game with 2 minutes left to go. They had the ball. They had a chance to score. They didn't. They are definitely in the hunt.
Well, they're in the hunt, but they need some help. Number one, they need Georgia to keep winning. Number two, they need some of the other teams to get upset. And, folks, college football makes some strange bedfellows. And Notre Dame fans better be Michigan and USC fans now, too, because if you want those wins to mean something if you run the table, you need the Wolverines and the Trojans to play well. So, Mark, after that game, as you go forward with the Irish and you take a look, is this a team right now that you say, okay, they can win the rest of their games?
I would say so. I think they're going to bounce back in a big way, especially today. Virginia is a very tough team, but Notre Dame looked so good, I think, against Georgia. And you look at it, too, in the third quarter, they only had 9 plays for 14 total yards, and they still had a chance to win at the end of that game against a Georgia team that is thought to be one of the best in the country. I think they're going to bounce back in a huge way today.
Well, in terms of bounce back, I think this is a little bit of an Elvis game. You can get caught in a trap and not get out, especially against the Cavaliers. If you're playing basketball against Virginia, you get emotionally jacked for that. They're the defending national champs. Football might be another story, but after the Georgia game, Brian Kelly said, we would truly find out today who the Irish are against a tough Virginia team.
I think our team will define who they are, this week, because they're coming off of a game where they were disappointed in their performance, so they have a chance to do something about it. So this is an opportunity to kind of define, who you are. I got a good feeling that they're going to respond in the right way. But again, it's closer to defining who you are after coming back from a loss than it is any time after a win.
So, Chuck, you just heard Brian Kelly there. He thinks this is the game that's going to define Notre Dame. Is Virginia the toughest test left on their schedule?
Virginia is a good football team, but you're playing inside Notre Dame Stadium. We have seen the Irish play very well at home over the last couple of years. Their problems have been on the road. And I know Michigan hasn't looked good. I know USC has a loss. Those are both tough road tests, as is Duke. I don't know if anybody spent any time watching the Blue Devils last night, but they went into Lane Stadium and did a little tap dance all over the grave of Frank Beamer. I know Frank's still alive, but you know what I'm saying. They took the Hokies to task.
Yeah, Virginia is, in my opinion, Virginia is the toughest test the rest of the way. Their defense is what really stands out to me. Top 15 nationally overall, 12th overall in stopping the run, which Notre Dame hasn't been that great at so far this season. So I think Virginia is definitely going to be a tough test.
So enough about us. What do you think is the toughest game left on Notre Dame's regular season schedule? That, my friends, is the topic of today's Lock Monday Auto Group Irish fan poll on WNDU.com.
Right now, 16% of you say it's today's foe, Virginia. 30% of you say it's the visit from arch rival USC in 2 weeks. 37% say it's that trip to Ann Arbor next month, and the season ender at Stanford gets 17%. There is still time to vote in the Lock Money Auto Group Irish fan poll on WNDU.com. We'll have the final results right around 3:20 on the countdown.
But we have a lot more planned for you between now and then.
Up next, the Irish rushing foes are glaring so far this season. We hear what the offense has to do to get the ground game rolling along.
And here's your first Subway trivia test of the day. Who was Notre Dame's starting quarterback the last time the Irish faced Virginia? The answer when the countdown returns in 2 minutes.
Here is your Subway trivia answer.
Malik Zaire was Notre Dame's starting QB the last time the Irish faced Virginia in 2015, but his season ended with an ankle injury that afternoon in Charlottesville. Deshaun Kaiser replaced him. Kaiser then threw a 40-yard strike to Will Fuller in the game's final seconds, sealing the 34-27 win for the Irish, breaking Who hearts and creating a viral fan video for the ages.
That Virginia fan gets me every time. Now, it's no secret the Irish ground game has struggled this season. Currently, they rank 104th in the country in rushing yards.
That's not good. The countdown's Megan Smedley joins us from down the field with how the blue and gold look to give this offense the push it needs. Megan?
Yeah, guys, injuries have plagued the Irish backfield all season long. Jameer Smith is expected to be back today after missing 2 games with a toe injury, but Jafar Armstrong still is a couple of weeks away. But injuries are just part of the Irish running back woes.
We're going to find ways to move the football.
It's been a thorn in Notre Dame's paw through the first quarter of the season, the lack of an efficient run game.
Until we get up to the strength that we need to at the running back position, we're going to find ways to put points on the board and win football games.
With Jafar Armstrong and Jameer Smith battling injuries, Tony Jones Jr. has taken the charge.
And Tony is, his veteran leadership has been great in the room. He's got great instincts and feel as a runner, which has been great.
The Irish also have had to dig deep in the backfield, turning to freshman Kyron Williams and switching Avery Davis back to the offense.
We've got to rely on Avery and Sibo Fleminster more than we did.
And to be honest, on our group is ready because our coach trains us well to have the next man in mindset. So I think we'll be good.
We have multiple guys who can play winning football and help this football team.
But the added depth and high expectations from earlier this fall haven't led to results. In the first game of the season, Irish backs rushed for 149 yards on 28 carries. Since then, a mere 70 yards on 29 carries. Nowhere near preseason standards.
We consistently have to get better, run the ball when we want to.
To do that, the healthy Irish offensive line wants to keep paving the way for their backs.
Just keep doing what we're doing every day. We don't have to be superheroes. We don't have to change everything. Just keep doing what we're doing. Trust our technique, trust our fundamentals. We play physical.
So will today be the day the Irish run game breaks through?
We've got to find a way to run the football, too. And we're going to have that challenge against Virginia.
As Kelly said, it will be a challenge going up against Virginia's defense. The Cavaliers currently are ranked 12th in the country at stopping the run, holding opponents to just 75 yards a game.
But it's not like you can just chuck it on them either because they're number 1 in the country in sacks. So a true challenge for Notre Dame. Coming up on the countdown, it is the Irish Illustrated Report. Tim O'Malley tells us where Notre Dame fits in this year's college football picture after last week's loss.
Plus, just how good is Virginia and what should Irish fans be concerned about with the Cavaliers today? Tim gives us his take. And you can subscribe to Irish Illustrated, the #1 source for Notre Dame sports online. Just head to irishillustrated.com and click on Join to find the best plan for you.
Back with the Irish Illustrated Report, Tim O'Malley, bedecked in corduroy, joining us on the countdown today. Tim, where do the Irish stand in the college football world right now after that loss to Georgia last week?
I think they answered more questions. I went into that game thinking there were so many holes they were going to have to fill that it would just the dam would eventually break. It didn't. I believe Alabama and Clemson are probably in their own tier. Maybe is Notre Dame on the next tier with LSU, Ohio State, Oklahoma, and Georgia? Well, they are with Georgia the way they played. So probably still on the outside looking into that tier, but at least you think now they can make it into that second tier and contend.
Tim, we're about a quarter of the way through this season. Do you feel like this team has developed a personality yet? If so, what is it?
I really think that they were so inexperienced at key positions, and they really came together at Georgia that the defense can get better, the offense can get pieces back. We saw what Cole Kmet did for the offense. If you can get Michael Young and Jameer Smith and really Jafar Armstrong back in, they can continue to define themselves. I feel like not elite, but they're right on the doorstep. The Georgia game really opened my eyes, and I think should for the nation as well.
Well, 2 of those guys you mentioned coming back might come back today. You get Michael Young, you get Jameer Smith. You also probably get Braden Lenzy today. How much impact does that make on this offense?
For Jameer Smith, I really think he's Notre Dame's best running back when Jafar Armstrong's out. But today, I really believe Tony Jones Jr. has to stay in because of Virginia's blitz schemes. He is by far their best in blitz pickup, and Virginia's going to keep coming and coming. 20 sacks, they lead the country for a reason. As far as Michael Young goes and Braden Lenzy, I have high hopes for them, but Cole Kmet's bionic. That's why he looked like that. I don't know if other guys could come back in and make that big of an impact.
Virginia comes in at 4-0 with wins over Pitt and Florida State, undefeated, the 18th ranked team in the country. How good are they, and what concerns you about them?
Their defense. I really like their 3-4 attack with Bronco Mendenhall. He's a guy. He was at BYU for 10 years. A lot of Notre Dame fans might remember him coming in here and playing some good defense. With that pass rush, with their ability to change the line of scrimmage, I think it's a low-scoring game. I do think Notre Dame's defense has a major advantage over Virginia's offense, though.
So you say a low-scoring game. Prediction?
Yeah, I'm in the 27-13 range for Notre Dame. I think if Notre Dame's linebackers play like they did last week, Virginia doesn't score 2 touchdowns today.
Wow. Well, you can find out if Tim is right by watching the game. And while you do that, subscribe to Irish Illustrated. It's the #1 source for Notre Dame sports online. Just head to irishillustrated.com. Click on Join. You'll find the best plan for you. Still a lot of ground to cover on this edition of the Countdown. Up next, a connection decades in the making, finally made by chance on the Notre Dame campus.
The story behind the unlikely encounter in the tailgating lots when the countdown continues in 2 minutes.
Back on the countdown with a check on the mood outside in the tailgating lots. The weather might be drying out. I don't think the fans are. Despite the rain, fans were once again up bright and early enjoying the fun and festivities, getting fired up for this afternoon's game.
A lot of folks tell us they're happy to have their Irish back home and hopeful Notre Dame is ready to shake off last week's loss at Georgia. And you can bet there have been quite a few reunions in those lots throughout the day as well.
Well, the Countdown's Lindsey Stone is out there right now. Lindsey, you've got a story of an unlikely connection made amongst the tents and tailgaters.
That's very true, Chuck, and you can find a Notre Dame fan just about everywhere you go. Look, we're looking at a bunch of them. Well, that shared fandom can make you feel connected, like family. Well, for 2 Irish fans, that family bond turned out to be true.
Before the touchdowns, before the pageantry, tailgating fills the parking lots around Notre Dame Stadium. For the McFadden tailgate, it's a tradition.
Our family did a tailgate. My brother Dennis did a tailgate every year for decades.
And it was the luck of the Irish that brought a chance meeting for one family member to connect.
And this nice-looking lad walked up and goes, "Do you know Maureen McFadden?" And I said, "I'm Maureen McFadden." And he goes, I'm your cousin, Jamie McFadden. I've been looking for you for 3 years.
Jamie McFadden, an Ontario native, joined Ancestry.com in 2010. After a year of digging, he stumbled upon a post that caught his eye.
I see this post, and the date is 2004.
The user was searching for someone related to Jamie's second great-grandparents.
The person that posted was just a username. There was no picture, there was no gender, there was no location.
He sent several emails but never got a response back. Life moved on for Jamie, completing an online degree through Notre Dame. He attended his first Irish game in 2010. 2 years later, Jamie was back again to cheer on the Fighting Irish and stopped at a local pub.
I pulled out my Canadian passport, I flashed my passport, and there were some ladies at the bar. They're like, "Oh, McFadden, they're all over the news down here." And so my response was, good side of the news or bad side of the news?
The next day, he was strolling through the tailgating lot.
My buddy and I saw this tailgating tent and it said McFadden on it. And we started talking. About 5 minutes had passed. So I said, if you don't mind, if you could give me your email address and we'll carry this on. I just stopped typing into my phone. And I'm like, oh my.
He goes, I was trying to answer you and I couldn't find you anymore. And so I explained to him that I just kind of lost interest after my dad died. Then we started trading names. And we realized we were in fact cousins.
The hairs on the arm go up and everything, and now like the world is just coming together type of thing. And on this beautiful campus of the University of Notre Dame.
It was bizarre because I had been looking for so long, and I was just thinking, God, I wish Dad were alive to hear all this.
Maybe it was fate that brought us together.
Fate, or even a bit of luck.
People can't believe it. I always say, I guess it's the luck of the Irish. It finally happened.
The luck of the Irish. Well, I am joined now by Maureen and Jamie McFadden themselves. So, Jamie, you're all the way here from Canada. Great to have you here.
Thank you.
Mo, what was it like getting to meet your cousin at a Notre Dame tailgate of all places?
It was unbelievable because I had given up and he didn't give up. But my dad died, I gave up. But he walked up and said, I'm your cousin.
And the rest is history. Well, we're going to go enjoy this tailgate of the game. We'll send it back to you guys.
Go Notre Dame. That Maureen person, she used to be somebody, I think. Now to buy or sell on the countdown. And Mark, let's get started with the topic on every Irish fan's mind. Notre Dame, are they still in college football playoff contention? You buying or selling?
Totally buying. I think Notre Dame is definitely in the conversation. You look how they played against Georgia, against a team that people were saying were going to destroy Notre Dame, and Notre Dame hung in the entire time. I'm totally buying that.
I'll buy it too, but like I said in the first segment, they're going to need some help. They need Georgia to play well. They need some other teams to play well. They need some upsets in front of them. A little luck of the Irish wouldn't hurt.
Now, the Irish won't lose again in the regular season. Chuck, buy or sell?
Well, I said on the first show of the year, maybe you weren't listening down there in Louisville, that they're going 10-2 this year. So I'm a man of my word, and if I say they're going 10-2, it means they're losing somewhere along the line this year.
I'm a man of my word as well. In that first show of the year, I had Notre Dame finishing the season 11-1. I think they're winning out the rest of the way.
All right, Virginia. Are they Notre Dame's toughest test left?
I'm buying it. Notre Dame, Virginia's defense looks so good, leads the country in sacks, really good at stopping the run, which Notre Dame hasn't been able to really develop yet. So I'm totally buying it. Virginia's the toughest team.
Notre Dame really good at home. They struggle sometimes on the road. So I'm selling on this one because I think one of those road tests, Michigan, Duke, or USC, could trip up the Irish.
All right, now the ACC agreement is good for Notre Dame's schedule. Buy or sell?
Well, I'm going to buy that. I mean, every time that you get a chance to put teams like Virginia, like Clemson, Florida State, when they're good, on your schedule, that only helps Notre Dame. I have to think that that's good for them overall. I'm buying.
I would buy if it was for the basketball team, but I'm selling because I think the ACC just hasn't been that tough in terms of football. Clemson, obviously, but in terms of ranking the conferences, I think ACC is near the bottom.
All right, we're just about halfway home on this edition of the Countdown. Quick hits are coming up next.
We'll hear what Brian Kelly says about those fake injury accusations and the big-time penalty problems against Georgia in 2 minutes on the Countdown. Back inside the countdown, I'm 16 News Now Sports Director Mark Skoll Jr.
And I'm WHME Sports Director Chuck Freeby. Lindsay and Megan back with us now for some quick hits on the countdown. Megan gets us started with the acting accusations from last week that the Irish say just aren't true.
Notre Dame knows that there are plenty of haters out there, but to accuse the team of faking injuries, well, that doesn't sit well with head coach Brian Kelly. During the Georgia game last week, both Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah and Asmar Bilal went down with injuries in the middle of quick Bulldog drives. Right away, the fans started to boo, and even the broadcasters jumped in, saying that Notre Dame is getting away with faking the injuries. But Kelly says that wasn't the case. He says his players are trained to go down right away and wait to be helped.
We want them to get medical attention. We have a medical spotter that is communicating with our trainers, and we don't want to risk anybody that's not feeling right. We're not going to fake injuries. We're a tempo team, but we're going to make sure the protocol is followed based upon what our training staff wants under those conditions.
Kelly was frustrated with those accusations all week and says it's not a storyline. But what was a storyline, Lindsay, was the Irish setting a record for the Brian Kelly era, just not a good one.
Ooh, Megan, yeah, you're exactly right. Last week, Notre Dame had they had 6 false start penalties in last week's game against Georgia, the most in any game during Brian Kelly's 10 seasons as a head coach. Now, at the end of the night, with a total of 12 penalties for 85 yards. Now, of course, the noise generated by 93,000 fans at Sanford Stadium certainly had something to do with the pre-snap penalties, but Brian Kelly says he's to blame for those mistakes.
I'm sick about it. I mean, I've been a head coach for 29 years. I know better. We didn't spend enough time, obviously. I thought I did. Made a terrible miscalculation in that I felt like our quarterback was prepared, but he wasn't, and that falls on me. Consequently, we had 3 critical issues that who knows where that could have led to, you know. So that falls on my shoulders. You know, I got to do a better job, and we'll make sure that never happens again.
And there certainly was a post-game feeling that the Irish had missed a chance to beat a highly ranked opponent due to those avoidable mistakes. Now, they've been in practice all week long working on those mistakes. We're going to find out if it paid off here later today. Now, Mark, I'm going to send things over to you, and Notre Dame will do just that against a team in a similar spot to where they were last week, one trying to win against a top 10 team on the road.
Lindsay, for the first time this season, Virginia will take the field as an underdog today. Notre Dame is a 12.5-point favorite. The Cavaliers are making their first ever trek to the house that Rockne built, and it's the biggest crowd the Hoos will play in front of this season. Virginia head coach Bronco Mendenhall doesn't want his team's jaws to drop over the stadium or Notre Dame's history. He just wants the Cavaliers to go out and play some football.
You get caught up in thinking about the different players that might have been there and the names of the past, and while that's historical and a positive thing for Notre Dame, we're playing this team this year in the stadium that the rest of the guys have played in, and to think about more than that is just a waste of time.
Mendenhall himself is 0-3 all-time at Notre Dame Stadium. The 3 losses all came while he was head coach at BYU.
Well, Mark, come next year, Mendenhall will have a South Bend native as an added weapon on his roster. The Adams quarterback Ira Armstead committed to join the Hoos back in June. He is considered one of the top prospects in the state. This season for the Eagles, Armstead has thrown for just over 700 yards and 4 touchdowns. He's also run for 300 yards and 6 tutties. Armstead says he picked Virginia out of his 20 offers because it felt like home.
Honestly, it was just my gut feeling, you know. When I arrived there and everything like that, it felt right, so I was like, why not, you know. So I made that my new home, and I'm super excited. I can't wait to go there, work with the guys, and, you know, start a new life there. Being there, seeing how the team works, seeing the culture, seeing the players, how the players act with each other, how they are in workouts and everything like that just made it feel like home. It was perfect for me.
Now, Mark Armstead and his Adams head coach, Antoine Jones, have been doing a little bit of woofing this week, and they've got a little bit of a riding on this game. So you see, Antoine was a nose guard here at Notre Dame back in the 90s. He says he has an extra small Irish shirt for Ira to wear if the Irish win.
Unfortunately, the two will have to watch this one from afar as they prep for their own game. Their tip with New Prairie was postponed until 7 o'clock tonight after last night's storms.
Now, there is still plenty to come on the countdown. Up next, talk about a welcome return. Cole Kmet was everything the Irish wished for in his season debut last week. I'll look at the latest breakout star of tight end U.
And here's another Subway trivia question. Which Irish All-American had 2 interceptions in Notre Dame's first ever game against Virginia? The answer when the countdown comes back in 2 minutes.
Here is your Subway trivia answer.
The first time the Irish and Cavaliers ever met was at the Kickoff Classic 30 years ago. Current Notre Dame defensive backs coach Todd Light was one of many Irish stars that night in East Rutherford. The future 2-time All-American snagged 2 interceptions as his defending national champion Irish coasted to a 36-13 win.
You'd have to go back even further than that to find the last time a Notre Dame tight end had that kind of night Cole Kmet had last Saturday.
For years, Mark, that has been the hue and cry of the Irish faithful. Throw to the tight end! Well, they've heard you.
Right there, Kmet.
Cole Kmet had not played a single minute this season before taking the field last Saturday at Georgia. That did not change Chip Long's game plan.
I knew the first play was coming in. Coach Long told me we're going to get you going, so I knew the first one was coming. And, you know, usually with him, if you make a play, he's going to come back to you.
We didn't wait too long. I mean, we put him right in the frying pan. But he, you know, I think he's got a lot of positive feelings about what he can do and how he can impact the offense.
He certainly made an impact last week. His 9 catches in a game were the most by an Irish tight end since the great Ken McAfee snagged that many against Purdue in 1977. Not bad for a guy who was laying on the field at Culver's 6 weeks earlier with a broken collarbone.
I knew I was going to come back, and, you know, kind of when it happened, it wasn't like I was going to be out for, you know, a big chunk of the year. So you just got to stay positive and keep working and wait for your opportunity.
It was so much fun seeing him go out there. Cole's an awesome dude, and he worked so hard those last couple weeks. So it was really, really special to see him do that.
For the last 2 seasons, the 6'6", 250-pounder has clearly been a favorite target of Ian Book, and Brian Kelly certainly understands why.
I think he's a cross between maybe a Troy Nicholas and Tyler Eifert. You know, he brings that, you know, physicality and big, big body type tight end where he's imposing, but still has the ability to catch and run.
But before you start making the bus for the College Football Hall of Fame, remember the junior from Lake Barrington, Illinois, has still only caught 26 passes in just over 2 seasons.
Cole's only had 6 real starts, you know, so he's emerging, you know, he's getting better, but he hasn't had a ton of playing time.
And as for Kmet, while tying the single-game record is nice, it's not what he's concerned about.
I mean, obviously it's really cool, but, you know, it's the start and the first game, and you just got to continue on it.
He has that same philosophy about baseball, too. Kmet's season was shortened last spring by an arm injury, but he assures everyone he'll be back on the mound this spring for new coach Link Jarrett and the Irish.
And I know when he's on the mound, his impact on a game can be just as big as it was in Georgia last weekend. He follows Jeff Samardzija and Golden Tate in a line of Irish football, baseball stars.
Now, we touched on it earlier. Kmet and the Irish offense get 3 more weapons back today from their own injuries. Receiver Michael Young also broke his collarbone in fall camp. He makes his season debut this afternoon.
Jameer Smith will give the Irish more depth in the backfield. He's recovered from a sprained toe, which cost him the last 2 games. And then the speedy Braden Lenzy is back after going through the concussion protocol and missing the Georgia game. Now the countdown continues to roll along this afternoon from Notre Dame Stadium. Up next, it's Sport B on the countdown.
Darren Pritchett joins us with his insights on if the Irish are still in the playoff race when we return in 2 minutes. Back with Sports Beat on the Countdown as Darren Pritchett, the genial host of Game Day and Weekday Sports Beat on WSBT Radio, joins us.
What does that mean?
I don't want to have to explain it to you. You're from Southern Illinois. Good afternoon, and let's start with the question of the day. Is Notre Dame still a college football playoff contender?
Fringe, I would say at this time. It's going to depend on how many undefeated teams are left. Plus, they always say, who have you beaten and who have you lost to? Well, Notre Dame might have lost to one of the best 4 teams in the country, so that's good. But you got to have some substance in the other category. Right now, who is it going to be? Is Michigan going to get better? USC is extremely talented, but can you trust them? And Virginia's a great opportunity. So I worry about, are there enough wow victories to help the Irish?
Now, Darren, how does being an independent affect Notre Dame's playoff chances?
To take one from Chris Bryant, it's such a boring conversation. The whole independent thing, boring. You know, in the old system, they made it to the title game. Under the BCS in 2012. Under the new system, they did pretty well last year, making the playoffs. So depending on the year, sure, maybe you want to play in a conference title game. Maybe that'll help you. But if you're in the Big Ten, you may have to play Ohio State. If you're in the ACC, you may have to play Clemson. That's not a lot of fun. So the Irish are just fine as an independent.
Between the two of us, you get to be the deciding vote here on this one.
Okay.
Is Virginia the toughest obstacle left for this team?
Team-wise, execution, I would say yes. But Michigan's going to be the toughest road game. And still, USC scares the daylights out of me. Their third-string quarterback got it done against Utah, a top 10 team. So I'm really hesitant to say Virginia, but I think all around execution, offense, defense, I'll say yes.
Oh, boy.
What did you say?
Well, you were
You
wrong.
agree with me. So, Darren, where do you think this team needs to make the biggest improvements going forward?
Run game. They got to be able to run the football better. I mean, only 14 attempts against Georgia. I would not have thought of that as part of the game plan at the start of the year. They need Jafar Armstrong back. He's their number 1 running back. He's really the only number 1 running back right now. They have a lot of number 2 guys. They need that marquee guy. Will he solve everything? Maybe not, but he would be a big boost because of his versatility.
5-second prediction.
Notre Dame 27-23.
There you go. That's Darren Pritchett from Weekday Sports Beat. We're now in the 4th quarter of the countdown. A lot still to share with you before the kickoff. Up next, the Irish say they're still in the hunt after last week's loss.
I'll look at how they plan to stay in the playoff chase when the countdown returns in 2 minutes.
Here are the final results of this week's Lock Monday Auto Group Irish fan poll on WNDU.com.
We asked you, what is the toughest game left on Notre Dame's 2019 schedule? 15% of you picked today's contest with Virginia. The night game with USC in 2 weeks got 30% of the vote. The visit to Michigan picked up 37% of the votes, and the trip to Stanford got 18%. Thank you for voting in the Lock Monday Auto Group Irish fan poll on WNDU.com.
No matter which of those tests is the toughest, it is clear if the Irish don't pass them all, their playoff dream will be over.
They tell us they're not giving up on that goal so easily.
Notre Dame proved one thing. Everybody said they can't play with the elites. Yes, they played with the elites.
The Fighting Irish are now 2-1 after last week's loss to Georgia, but not all is lost.
I don't think this ends Notre Dame's playoff hopes either.
Notre Dame believes they are still in the hunt.
My sense and expectation is that they understand the importance of where we go from here after the Georgia game. We have to play better football from here on out. So pretty confident that they understand that and what's needed from them moving forward.
Georgia is already in the rearview mirror, and the Irish are locked in on the Hoos.
We're not too worried about the future or worried about past games. We just want to continue to execute for each other each week.
Of course, we were excited with the result that happened on Saturday night, but we're focused on Virginia right now.
Right now, the Irish know they need to compete to their full capabilities if they want a chance at that gold in the House of the Rising Sun.
We all have the same goal in mind. We all want to execute for each other. And I think it's such a close-knit group, such a tight group, that it won't be a problem for us to kind of move on and get ready to go for this next one.
They say that bond has them on the horizon of that ultimate goal of winning a national title.
but we're so close. I mean, as an offense, we all love each other. We're brothers. And same thing with the defense. I mean, it had nothing to do with Georgia. It's just the love for each other is what's special.
And that love for each other has the Irish focused on the task at hand.
Well, our goal is to win a national championship, and that starts with beating Virginia this week. So that's kind of where you got to start.
The Irish believe they're not going to fall short of that goal. They were laser focused this week in the media availability. They were talking like Bill Belichick on to Virginia.
Almost to the robotic standpoint a little bit. Obviously, that message got drummed into them. The question is, can you keep that focus for the duration of the college football season? That's what makes it fun to watch college football. Up next, our Irish keys to the game, the X Factor, the picks and the predictions. It's the Four Winds Casino What to Watch For in 2 minutes on the Countdown. Back on the Countdown, Megan rejoins us for the Four Winds Casino What to Watch For. We start with our Irish keys to the game, Mr. Skoll.
Keep the same approach that you had last week against Georgia. They had a chance to win at the end. You got to keep that same approach today and throughout the rest of the season.
I got to go with my girl T Swift and say that the Irish need to shake it off and regain control of this game and their season. They were able to kind of get very close to Georgia, but they just need to shake it off. They've been saying all week, let's focus on Virginia. Focus on Virginia, Chuck.
Irish defense needs to treat the quarterback, Bryce Perkins, like one of T. Swizzle's jilted lovers. They need to park him. Earlier this week, Brian Kelly said if we hold him to a 3-yard run, we consider that a sack. He can hurt you with the arms and legs. Now the X Factors. Who'd you go with?
I'm going with wide receiver Chase Claypool. He has a touchdown reception in each of the last 2 weeks, but it doesn't seem like he's taken that next level with his game that I think he can take. I think he's going to break that level today. Megan?
I got to go with Captain Julian Acquire. He hasn't really had a breakout game so far this season, only attributing to 3 tackles. Look for him to have a breakout game today. Chuck?
I did a feature on Cole Kmet. He's good. I don't think Virginia can stop him. I'll go with Kmet. Prediction time. Mark?
I think Notre Dame is going to win big today, 35-14. The defense is going to be tough, but Ian Book's going to have a breakout performance with a couple touchdown passes to my X Factor.
So
Chase
way
Claypool.
above the spread is Skoll. What about you?
I'm going to say it's going to be pretty tight. I'm saying 27-24 Irish. I just think it's 2 good teams. I think it's going to be a great game.
Late field goal wins it?
I don't know about that. I don't think we got that much excitement
Maybe they
on
come
their hands.
back.
So.
Yeah. I'm going somewhere in the middle of you two. I really think this is anywhere between a 10 to 14-point game. I'm going to go 31-20 Notre Dame, although I have to say I was somewhat swayed, almost like Tim O'Malley's jacket, by his appeal to the Irish defense. Up next, we've got the pregame ceremonies and our national anthem that comes your way in 90 seconds on the Countdown. University of Notre Dame Marching Band with our national anthem here at Notre Dame Stadium as we get you ready for kickoff between the Irish and Virginia. The only matchup of top 20 teams today in the country. You take a look, though, USC has Washington today. That's another game to keep an eye on. Give me one thing that you think will be the difference maker in this game.
I think it's going to be Ian Book. He has to have a big day today. I don't think the Irish should try to get the run game going because I don't think they're going to be able to just get Ian Book going right off the bat.
I'm going to go Coach Chase Claypool and say that he needs to have his breakout game today.
All right, I'm going to put my hat on the Irish defense. They've got to come up with a big game against Bryce Perkins. We turn it over to NBC. They've got coverage of the Irish and Cavaliers. Mark and I are back here right after the game with highlights and reaction on 16 News Now.